no frustrations for our Ben Johnson as we welcome you back to Game Day Recap. Haley Sutton alongside Damien Harris, Rand Carthon, and our guy, Pete Prisco. Where do we want to start, guys? We want to talk positives with the Bears, negatives with the Raiders. Pete, I'll give you first word. Which way you're taking it?
Well, Geno was a negative today. I mean, he threw 3 interceptions. He's throwing way too many. He's throwing way too many interceptions. Geno Smith needs to be better. And we saw the running game get going with Jeanty. He did a lot of really good things. Showed why he was such a high draft pick, going to be a special running back. But Geno Smith has to be a factor in the passing game. And you look at his numbers. I mean, these are numbers where you should win the game. But your quarterback threw 3 picks, and that's never a good thing. So I think that's something to keep an eye on going forward. When we talked when we were watching the games today, is Geno Smith there? They acted like he was their answer. Is he their answer? I mean, he was great last year in Seattle. He hadn't been very good this year.
Well, we also, when we talk about the passing game, I mean, you got to look at the stats of the receivers. I mean, Brock Bowers 5 for 46. I mean, that's okay for a tight end, but not for the level.
For him.
Not for Brock Bowers, the new generational tight end, right? Jacoby Myers 4 catches, 30 yards. Ashton Jeanty 2 for 17. Trey Tucker 2 for 13. Ultimately, the passing game is not working. Yes, Geno is throwing a ton of interceptions, but the receivers are not getting separation. They're not finding the soft spot in the zones. Like, there is no continuity in the pass game, and it's so unfortunate because the best friend of a pass game is a really strong run game, and that is what they're building with Ashton Jeanty in Vegas. But Geno Smith, the receivers, they're not doing their part right now, and that's what's really, really bringing this Raiders team down right now.
Well, if you go back and you look at Geno Smith's history, he's been one of the better play-action passing quarterbacks in the league, and through the first couple weeks of the season, there was no real threat of the running game, right? And we just saw it on the graphic what those numbers were. And so I'm going to tend to be positive, right? I'm going to go the opposite of Priscoing, and I'm going to say this. Now that Ashton Jeanty has established himself as a runner through this week, I think the threat of the running game now becomes a real threat, and people will pay more attention, and then they will give more action, which is going to lead to them being able to complete the ball down the field. But something Pete's been talking about all day is no one stretches the field.
Nobody.
No one takes shots down the field, and you have a young rookie receiver in Dante Thornton who is a vertical guy. That's a vertical go-get-it guy, but yet he hasn't been used much down the field to create those explosives. So hopefully that's what's coming next in this Chip Kelly offense, the play-action threat of Jeanty to get the safeties just to hold, and then now you have a shot downfield because Geno can still throw the deep ball. But like Pete said, Geno has to be better because you turn the ball over as many times as you did today, and you still were within a blocked field goal to get a chance. And speaking of that blocked field goal, I want to give a shout out to Richard Hightower, the special teams coach of the Chicago Bears, really good friend of mine, and he coordinates that special teams unit. So I know it means the world to him to get this block and help this team get a win. So shout out to you, Tower.
And you also, we talked about this earlier, that is the hardest block point to block a
definitely
field goal
off that edge.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All the blocks that we've seen, I mean, the increased number over the last couple of weeks, it's all been interior D linemen. They push, then they get their hands up. Well, no, we had a guy running the edge, and we know that is the hardest and usually the most unsuccessful block attempt. So again, shout out to your homeboy because he did his thing.
It looks easy, and it looks easy because we're watching it and like, oh, he was close, and then you see it slow mo, like he wasn't even close.
Not at all.
But for this guy to flatten, and because that's a hard angle because you're at I want to say a wide 9 just for viewing purposes, but to be able to push up the field, flatten, and still get your hand out and get enough on the ball, that guy, he timed it up perfect and got really good short area burst to close on that.
After what happened last week, you would have thought there would be no kicks blocked this week after everybody went back to the drawing board to make sure our field goal protect was good, and it's still happening.
I want to go to the other side real quick before we move ahead to another game. The Bears, they pick up a second consecutive win. What did we think, Ran, of what Caleb was able to do? Ben Johnson also very excited at the end of this one. What did you take away from the Bears today?
I mean, they stayed the course, right? They stayed the course, and there were times in the past where if the Bears were in a situation like this, you would see them kind of fold, right? But they stayed the course. Defense made tons of plays. Kevin Byard had a resurgence today. I think he had 2 interceptions on the day. But like you said, when the team needed plays on offense, DeAndre Swift got going. He was able to, bounce runs to the perimeter, and in my opinion, has some of the best feet that you could find on a running back, just being able to make these cuts and change of direction. And then Caleb, I know he had the 1 interception, but he looked like he was in control, like he was never flustered because, man, They had every reason to be flustered because I don't know what got into Max Crosby when he woke up this morning.
Oh my goodness!
He was,
Shout out to Max,
he was out of control. So shout out to you, Mad Max.
Mad Max. I also want to give some love, still speaking on the Chicago side, I want to give some love to Roma Dunze because this is a guy that after his rookie year, he faced a lot of criticism. People talked about his dad and his father's comments, et cetera, et cetera. Well, guess what? He's performing right now. He's tied with James Cook for the lead in touchdowns in the league. He's performing. He had 64 yards today, a touchdown. Like, he's being that receiver that Caleb Williams needs him to be. And when you become that guy, again, they were in the same draft class. They're very close. They're good friends. When you start stepping up and making those plays, that gives Caleb Williams a ton of confidence.
It's slowing down for Caleb Williams. You can see it. He's not his feet aren't as jumpy. He doesn't get out as quick, and he still can get outside. And sometimes he does it too soon. But it seems like he's calming down in the pocket, and that's what we all want to see. It's wonderful to see him outside of it, but the game is meant to be played right there. Go through your progressions, get the ball out, and I think he's doing a better job of that.
It was a 1-point win for Chicago, 24. We got to move on. I'm sorry. I want you to talk.
I just wanted to correct my error. Roma Dunze had 69 yards.
Oh, there we go.
That's it.
We love that. Let's talk about the Jags and the 49ers because this one was eventful from start to finish, even post-game. We're going to get into that in a minute. But it is Brock Purdy's first game back. It wasn't so great. Before we get into the game meat, I do kind of want to talk about what happened after the game, though. There was an exchange between Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh after the game. It was very spirited. We're going to give you the context maybe as to why they were having this exchange. This is a sound from Thursday. Robert Saleh taking a little bit of an issue maybe with how Liam Cohen is getting stuff done. Take a listen.
You know, Liam and his staff, coming from a couple of guys coming from Minnesota, you know, they've got legally a really advanced signal stealing type system where they always find a way to put themselves in an advantageous situation. They do a great job with it. They formation you to try to find any nugget they can. So we've got to be great with our signals, and we got to be great with our communication, and to combat some of the tells that we might give on the field. So they're almost elite in that regard. That whole entire tree, from Sean to Kevin O'Connell to all those guys.
So then here's the post-game interaction. It's quick. We're going to loop it a few times, but you can see there Cohen's having to be held back. Saleh's chirping. There's a lot going on here. Apparently, keep my name out of your mouth was said by Cohen. So still a lot maybe we're sorting out. We don't want to speculate or talk too much about it. But, guys, clearly there's some bad blood between these two teams. Pete, I'll come to you first as our mayor of Jacksonville. What did you think about the win for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Are you team Cohen, team Saleh? How you feeling?
I thought Robert Saleh, it was strange why he brought it up this week because, look, Liam Cohen's been a head coach for 3 games. He's never played against them. He has no idea if they can steal signals or not. He has an idea that maybe people he worked with in the past did. He basically called out Sean McVay. He called out Kevin O'Connell. He called anybody in that coaching tree out other than his own guy, Kyle Shanahan, who was once in that tree, by the way. So I didn't understand the method to the madness. I understand why Liam Cohen is angry about it. But here's something to keep an eye on. That job came down to 2 people basically at the end. It was Liam Cohen and Robert Saleh. And they decided to go with Liam Cohen. So I don't know if there's bad blood there from Robert Saleh, and he decided to let it out this week. But if you're Liam Cohen, I'd be angry about that too. You're lumping me into something that I'm not even involved in. And so he had a right to be angry. He probably shouldn't have handled it that way. But if I'm the Jaguars and I'm looking at that, I'm okay. My coach is getting a little fired up. His name was brought up like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, I don't have no problem with it at all. I don't think that there was any mishandling of the situation at all. You know, if you're bold enough to go out and speak on me and say whatever you got to say, well, then don't be surprised when I've got a response, when I just beat you fair and square. And I think that the comments by Robert Saleh were very weird because there's a saying that goes around the NFL and around other sports. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. I'm not going to use that right now. I'm just going to say
nobody in New England can use that.
I'm just going to say all I'm going to say is everybody, every team, every coach, every coordinator, they have people that try to just look for anything and everything to gain a competitive advantage. And Robert Saleh knows that. I'm sure Robert Saleh has done plenty of things that, you know, is it legal, is it not? It doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, everybody is trying to create a competitive advantage. This is the National Football League. You know how hard it is to win games in the National Football League. You have to get every nugget, every piece of information, everything that you can that's right at the line, maybe a little bit past the line. Like, everybody's done it. This was just weird.
I'll say it because having been a former advanced scout, That was one of the things I was at the game to do, to find us a nugget. Anything I could find to do find a tail to help us. We called them bird rabbit keys. If we can, a run pass key, whether it was the tackle's foot being back far or position guys switching their gloves or messing with all those things. But the funny part for me with this one is, you now talk through the helmet communicator on both sides of the ball. So there really shouldn't be much signaling going on at this point, right? Because you're talking, the defensive coordinator or whomever is talking directly to the green dot on defense, and the same thing for offense. So the part is funny, but I like the fact that Saleh channeled his Liam Cohen channeled his inner Will Smith and said, keep my name out your mouth. But I want to tell you this, Liam. Saleh ain't the one you want to run up on.
No.
That's not the one you want to run up on.
You don't want to.
Cohen was asked about it after the game. He said he's going to keep it between them. He said it's not a big deal. So obviously he's trying to kind of sweep it under the rug. I did want to put a bow on the Jacksonville conversation, though, and talk about the takeaways. And Rand, I'll give you final word there because you and I were talking about it. They came into this one with the same amount of takeaways that they had all of last year. That was 9. They ended the day with what, 14?
13 total.
Math is hard. But what did you think of the Jacksonville defense?
The turnovers were the key. The turnovers were the key because the Niners were 8 of 13 on third down. They had almost 400 yards of offense. But the two keys were the turnovers, and the Jags defense held them to 1 of 3 in the red zone, which completely flipped this game. And then they possessed the ball. So it was one of those games that Brock Purdy was coming back, and you were expected, you're getting a lot of your weapons back, and they were expected to be able to roll against this Jags defense, and that just didn't happen today because the Jags defense was very opportunistic. They were able to rush him. They were able to make him uncomfortable, and you saw a ton of balls that were just overthrown. And we had a saying, tips and overthrows, got to get those. And that's what happened today for this Jags
Brock
defense.
Purdy did not play well today at all. And he looked like he was bothered by his foot. He didn't step into the ball. You mentioned a lot of high balls, but Jacksonville should be undefeated. They technically should be undefeated. And I think the turnovers might be, we talked about this in the green room, they might be masking that they're not that good on defense, but they're taking the ball away. Sometimes you take the ball away and your defense really isn't that good, but they are making plays when they need to.
Pete's trying to keep his votes in Jacksonville so he can stay in the
No, I don't know how good that defense really is because they are taking the ball away, though.
Do they win that game if Mac Jones plays today instead of Brock Purdy?
Like, how much do I want to Pete Prisco right now? This is what I will say. I'm not going to confidently say they would have won this game, but I think there would have been more rhythm. I think the time that Purdy has missed, I think the injuries, it was evident today. And there wasn't really a rhythm that the 49ers ever got in. I mean, you look at Christian McCaffrey. He was fumbling the ball. He looked all over the place at times. And even, I want to piggyback off something you said. I think the most crucial point in the game, outside of the turnovers, a crucial drop on third down by Kendrick Bourne when you're going in, trying to approach the red zone. And then what happened immediately following that third down drop? Jacksonville returns a punt for a touchdown. No more points after that. The game is over. So, you have to, I know that we talked earlier about how every play has a life and a possession of its own. That's going to be a play that the 49ers are going to be looking at and being like, this, if we could have just made this one play.
Mac Jones wasn't winning that game. Mac Jones played on that team last year, and he was awful. They know how bad he is. He wasn't winning that game.
It's kind of a loaded question there.
You try.
All right, let's hit another break here on Game Day Recap. Brock Purdy was not the worst quarterback on the day. Cam Ward put up 0 points in the Titans' loss. We're going to break it down. He was very candid about how he feels about his team going into Week 5. Stay with us.